Understanding ISO in Cinematography, the ultimate guide. We are Grimehouse Films. Welcome to today's video where we'll be diving deep into the world of ISO in cinematography. As an essential component of the exposure triangle, mastering ISO is crucial for every aspiring filmmaker. Let's get started by understanding what ISO is and how it works. What is ISO? ISO, or International Organization for Standardization, is a standardized scale used to measure the sensitivity of your camera's sensor to light. In cinematography, a higher ISO means the sensor is more sensitive to light, allowing you to capture images in low light conditions without sacrificing shutter speed or aperture settings. Conversely, a lower ISO means the sensor is less sensitive to light, which is ideal for well-lit environments. How ISO works? ISO works by amplifying the electrical signal produced by the camera's sensor when it's exposed to light. As the ISO value increases, so does the amplification of the signal, resulting in a brighter image. However, this increased sensitivity comes at a cost. Higher ISO values can introduce more noise or grain into your footage. ISO values and stops. ISO values are typically represented in a series of numbers, doubling as you move up the scale. Common ISO values include 100, 200, 400, 800, 1600, 3200, and 6400. Each doubling of the ISO value is referred to as a stop, and it indicates that the sensor is twice as sensitive to light as the previous value. Balancing ISO with shutter speed and aperture is part of the exposure triangle. ISO works together with shutter speed and aperture to create a properly exposed image. It's important to strike the right balance between these three elements to achieve the desired exposure and image quality. Remember that increasing ISO sensitivity can result in more noise in your footage, so it's essential to keep ISO as low as possible while maintaining a proper exposure. Always consider adjusting shutter speed and aperture before turning to ISO as your primary solution. Native ISO and dual native ISO. Most cameras have a native ISO, which is the base sensitivity level at which the camera's sensor performs optimally, delivering the best image quality with the least amount of noise. It's important to know your camera's native ISO and use it as a starting point when setting up your shots. Some modern cameras also feature dual native ISO technology, which offers two optimal sensitivity levels for different lighting situations, providing cleaner images at both low and high ISO settings. This technology is especially useful for filmmakers working in challenging or changing light conditions. Tips for managing ISO in your shoots. 1. Keep your ISO as low as possible to minimize noise in your footage. 2. Understand your camera's native ISO and use it as your starting point. 3. Be mindful of the exposure triangle and prioritize adjusting shutter speed and aperture before resorting to ISO changes. 4. Invest in fast lenses with wide apertures to allow for more light, reducing the need for high ISO settings. 5. Utilize external lighting sources to control the amount of light in your scene, making it easier to maintain a low ISO. Conclusion. ISO plays a critical role in achieving proper exposure and image quality in cinematography. By understanding how ISO works, knowing your camera's native ISO, and learning how to balance it with shutter speed and aperture, you'll be well on your way to creating stunning visuals for your projects. Now go out there and practice, and don't be afraid to experiment with different ISO settings to see what works best for you.